The other big mistake, if I can add one more point,
Please.
would be upon graduation and upon entering residency, or the real world as I call it, practicing for yourself or working for someone and getting full pay. Because as a student, they're either working full time, resident, you're working full time, but you're not getting full pay. But when you're getting that full compensation and the loans have kicked back in, one of the biggest mistakes I see as as new practitioners, is they focus all their efforts and energy paying that loan back really, really aggressively. And sometimes they ignore some other important factors to have balance in their life, like building up their checking and savings, maybe even getting a little bit more reasonable transportation so they can get from point A to point B. So just be cautious on how much you pay back on your loans. Like, it is a good thing and it will save you a lot of money by paying those off aggressively, but it's important to have financial balance.
I'm super glad you brought that up, because there are definitive schools of thought, depending on where I am in the country, where people are saying, I need to spend every dollar I make paying off my student loan, or I can go do 10 other things and spread my money out this way. So obviously interest rates are going to be an important factor. Where's your break even as far as pounding down student debt versus investing and paying debt?
So this is a tough question, because it depends upon the individual and really their mentality, the behavior that they have intuitively in themselves, and also what their goals and dreams are. And so for educational purposes, I can speak, but for anyone of you that's listening out here, I would really encourage you to speak to a qualified advisor that can work with you to find out what is your best option for you. Now, with that being said, if I run into a new practitioner or student that is really wanting to have their own business, buy into a practice of some sort, we may actually recommend that they not over aggressively pay their student loans, to continue to build up savings so they can get a loan and buy that practice sooner, because likely the practice, as long as it's run well, should create massive amounts of wealth above and beyond the amount of interest that's paid on the loans. Now, if we have a person that's really just hell-bent on paying down the loans as quickly as possible, there are some consolidation options where we can do a 5-year fixed loan, even a 5-year variable loan, get super low rates right now, and they can really attack that down. I'm very cautious with that, though, because if you do that in a 5-year time frame, there's really not going to be any money left over to do anything else. So the break-even point depends upon the individual, their circumstances, their goals, and what their interest rates are and things of that nature. But again, financial balance is key when it comes to loans. One of the key phrases I like to coach my clients and my students with is that student loans is an emotional decision, not a financial one. And the reason I state that is, as long as you do something productive with the money, even if it's not going to overpay your loans in, let's say, a 5-year time frame, if you're doing something productive with the money, like putting it towards a business venture or maybe to an investment or paying off other higher interest credit cards possibly, it still could be very productive in your financial life, even though you're not paying it off in a 5-year time frame.
Yeah, that's a great point. So good debt versus bad debt. And I really liked what you said, to emphasize that if you're a new grad or a dentist who's been out 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, and your plan is to be buying a practice or starting a practice sooner than later, understand what a bank is looking for, and that's for you to have cash in hand, not necessarily have been overly aggressive with paying off your student loans. That matters.
It could actually be a negative by overpaying your loans and having no money. You may not actually be able to get a loan because you did what you thought was correct, and what all of your professors, teachers, grandparents, and parents told you was pay down the debt, pay down the debt, pay down the debt. That actually could negatively impact your life in some circumstances.
So I will raise my hand as guilty as charged, because I was that young dentist early in my career. In 3.5 years, I eliminated my student debt. And I was patting myself on the back, and my whole family was cheering. And when it came time to purchasing my practice, my parents were at that bank co-signing all my loans, because that was the only way they were going to give me the money. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, well, it's a great point, and lucky for you that your parents were in a position to do that. A lot of our students and a lot of our clients' parents aren't as lucky, and they may not be an option as well.
And my parents really didn't like it, just FYI. They knew I was a good bet, but they liked my sister better.